What's going on, guys? And hopefully you're having a wonderful Saturday, but let's get right down to it. Inflation is expected to come down. I want to address why this is potentially a good thing and how this is potentially a bad thing, because we have a little bit of an issue regarding Social Security. So I want to address that in just a minute. But the good news is there's some possible relief in 2022. So here's what we know. And if you have questions on any of this stuff, please ask your questions down in the comment section below, and I will get to those in another video. Now, here's what I can tell you. According to multiple economists, they say inflation will come down by the end of this year. Now, don't expect inflation to be under 4%. Don't even expect inflation to be under 5%. The expectation is that core inflation will be anywhere between 5 and potentially 6% by the end of 2022. Now, I bring this up today because a lot of people are still worried about inflation. They're still worried about rising rents and food and utility payments, and I completely understand. Now, here's what we know. We are going to see over the next 5 months, we are going to see inflation either go up or go down. The expectation is not that it goes sideways. It doesn't stick at 8.6%. It doesn't stick at 9.1%. We are going to see inflation move. We're going to see the CPI numbers come in either hotter or even a little bit lower than expected. We only have about 5 months left, all right? Even Elon Musk said earlier on this week that he believes inflation will come down towards the end of this year. And I think it will. Now, inflation coming down should be a good thing, because millions of Americans are currently struggling to pay their rent, their grocery bills, their utility payments, right? Their auto loans. We're seeing repos left and right. And even some people are struggling to pay their monthly medication. This is a worry. This is a huge worry. If you cannot afford the medication that you need to live and survive, that is devastating. Now, here's what I can tell you, because things are getting out of hand. But the truth is that inflation coming down right now and potentially going back up, this actually hurts one group of people, and those are those people on Social Security. So before I address why economists believe that inflation is going to come down, I first want to talk about how inflation coming down temporarily is actually going to hurt those on Social Security. I've addressed this before, but I want to make sure that everybody is aware of what could potentially happen. The answer is actually pretty simple though. The cost of living adjustment, or COLA, this is actually determined by averaging the CPIW number over the 3 months in the third quarter. Okay, that's August, September, or that's July, August, September. Okay, now if CPI, just to give you an idea, if CPI is, let's say 8% in July, and August it's 7%, and September it's another 7%, then the cost of living adjustment for 2023 would be roughly 7.3%. Now, if the CPI number for July is 8%, and August it's 7%, and September it is 6%. Then the cost of living adjustment for 2023 would be roughly 7%, right? The average of those 3 months, that third quarter. Now, if inflation were to go back up after September, that will not be factored in. So we could see inflation sit at 7%, or the cost of living adjustment sit at 7%. It's locked in. Great news. Problem is, if it goes back up, let's say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15%, and we don't know, if it goes back up, that means people on Social Security would get screwed once again. The only way they would come out ahead is if inflation continues to go down. We see disinflation. So, if you have questions on any of that stuff, please let me know. You can always ask your questions down in the comment section below. But let's now talk about why economists believe that inflation will come down once we get into September. Again, key is once we get into September, because these are tough times that we're in right now, and there's multiple reasons why inflation will come down once we get to September. So let's talk about that. First, summer travel or summertime travel is going to end. It will be concluding. People will be staying home. Kids will be going back to school. Parents will go back to work. Well, a lot of parents never stopped working, so they'd go back to work. Teachers would go back to school and work and all that stuff, which is essentially going to bring gas prices down, which we've already seen them come down over the past 30 days. But this is also going to bring down housing away or shelter away from home, right? Temporary housing, short-term housing. It's going to bring down food away from home. It's going to bring down airfare. Airfare is going to completely just plunge. If we see travel completely drop, if we see, and the expectation is COVID cases will actually increase, which would most likely mean people would rather stay home. So some good news there. COVID cases increasing actually could be good news for inflation. Bet you didn't expect that one coming. We also know that the expectation is that we're going to have a 50% chance of dipping into a recession by the end of 2022. How is dipping into a recession considered a good thing? Well, it could potentially bring down inflation. Here's why. If businesses are not hiring because they're worried about a recession, it's going to help. We know they're downsizing in many aspects. They're not giving out wage increases like they were back in 2020 and 2021, right? And so because of this, we aren't going to see as much upward pressure on inflation due to wages going up. That's good news. But not only that, but the worry of a potential recession is causing a lot of demand destruction as well, just across the board. But experts are anticipating that demand destruction will not actually take its toll on the American people until the later part of September or come October. So again, that's one of the reasons why some are saying that we are going to see inflation come down, but not until after September. But I really want to talk about gas prices. I really want to address gas prices in its own, okay? Because gas prices deserves its own talking point. So let's talk about that. Because gas prices are dropping, and they have been for the last 30 days or so. But when gas prices come down, food prices come down with it. We're seeing utility bills come down as well. But we're also seeing raw materials drop in price as well, which means the products that those raw materials are making are actually costing less money to produce, which usually means they will actually sell for less. Okay, the value there, the retail value, is not going to be as high. But we have multiple issues here. Okay, because by saving money on gas and pretty much oil in general, right, the American people have more money to spend. Now, in some instances, this is a good thing. You have more money. But the problem is, for others, giving people more money means they can spend more on other things, which would actually cause additional upward pressure on inflation. So again, there's good news. The expectation is we're going to see some potential relief in 2022. The only problem is this relief could be short-lived if the American people just go out there and start spending money frivolously on things that they don't need, right? So just keep that in mind. Here's the last thing, and this is extremely important. I touched on this week, but lastly, Russia and Ukraine could see an end to their fighting very soon. Again, I say this because according to the latest reports that we've received, Russia wants to hold a vote on potentially annexing part of Ukraine into Russia. Now, if Russia were to do this, according to these reports, this would be done by September 15th. So this is another reason why we could see inflation go down. If we see Russia pull out of Ukraine, we see the sanctions pretty much stop. Right? We're not going to have additional sanctions. That would potentially be it, at least according to reports. That could potentially be a good thing. That could bring all prices back down. That could create more stability for oil. I'm just saying, there's a lot of things that are happening right now that could be very good as far as inflation is concerned. Now, Russia pulling out of Ukraine but annexing part of Ukraine into Russia, that wouldn't be a good thing for Ukraine. Ukraine would likely continue to fight. But again, they may hold off temporarily. So we're going to see what happens there. But what we do know is the expectation is that inflation is going to come down. It's going to provide some relief. But the relief that we see, it may be temporary in 2022. The expectation is we are going to see major disinflation in 2023. So again, what I'm here to tell you is we're going to see some relief, but we just have to be patient. So again, if you have questions on any of this stuff, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing if you want to stay up to date on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.